Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Dean Sloaner. Appreciate that. Hi. Hi. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah, well, first, I just met Coach, and he's a cool dude, too. And both Coach Dawkins, all my guys, Coach Shaw, I love those guys. We should clap. You got great coaches here. Oh. That was one of my highlights. I was like, I hope I get to meet him. I met his mom, but I didn't meet him yet. So, I'm sorry. I'm giggly like, yeah.
All right, well, then let's start with sports. Let's start with basketball.
Okay.
Many people may not realize that you actually began preparing for your second career, your career in business, while you were still in the NBA. Can you tell us what that preparation looked like and what motivated you?
Well, first, we have to understand that the same principles really apply from being a basketball player as well as a CEO. When you think about focus, strategy, discipline, so I'm still that same guy that has those same principles as a CEO. And what I was doing as a basketball player first, and also a competitor, because I hate to lose at anything, right? Like my wife encouraged me to play my daughter one-on-one, when she was about 15, 16 years old. I play her, we go to 10. I let her get to 9. And then I got to crush her. And if I was playing my mother, I would let her get to 9.5. And then I'll crush her too. I love winning. And I took that same competitive spirit to the boardroom as well. I'm a perfectionist. So I was a perfectionist as a basketball player. I did the drills over and over and over again. And even today, I'm a perfectionist. And I want to do everything the right way. So when you think about principles of being an athlete or a basketball player, it's the same thing as a CEO. I'm a guy who's going to get there early. I'm a professional. Today they said, okay, about 11:30. Well, I got on campus at 5 to 11. I just sat at the chapel for a half hour waiting, but that's who I am, and so I think that I was preparing. What I did was I asked Dr. Buss, I said, my dream is not just to win championships, but I want to become a businessman after my basketball career with the Lakers. And he took me up under his wing and became my mentor, and one of my many mentors. And so he taught me Laker business, opened the books up to me, let me see how the Laker business was being run day to day. Then and I was one of these guys that was crazy, so I called the PR man from the Lakers and I said, look, I want to know all the people who sit on the floor. I want to know their phone numbers and names. So I cold called 20 people and said, will you go to lunch with me? And they said, yeah. So
Surprise, surprise.
I took advantage of my platform, trust me. And so I picked their brain about business, what made them successful, and I incorporated it into my own style. And so while I was playing basketball, yes, I was getting ready, but make no mistake about it, I was 150% in with being a Laker and being the best basketball player I could be. In the off season, I was preparing for this life after basketball. But I was a crazy basketball player, much like I am CEO, because when you're trying to prove people wrong, first they said I wouldn't be able to play point guard at 6'9", so I had to prove them wrong. Then they said I couldn't go from the basketball court to the boardroom, and it's been my pleasure proving them wrong again. And so I'm a guy who goes all the way in, and I love doing what I'm doing. But basketball prepared me for the business room, no question about it. You know, if it wasn't for basketball, I don't think I could be the CEO that I am today.
I think you touch on some good lessons that you learned in transitioning your career. There's a lot of people who come to business school hoping to pivot out of one career and into another, basketball pun intended.
Right.
And what would be
Okay.
what would be your top piece of advice for them?
Well, first of all, you got to take your ego out of it. See, what made me a great basketball player wouldn't make me a great CEO. I have to understand, because I didn't know business. So that's why those mentors were so important to me. And then somebody finally is going to say no to you. And then you have to have a thirst for knowledge, right? And so that's why I was meeting with so many people, because I was hungry for knowledge, and I wasn't shy about asking questions. And so I think for me, it was just making sure I got in the right rooms with the right people, make sure I got enough experts in terms of being my mentors, that experts in business, and then make sure that then I apply what I learned from them. A lot of times athletes, we're such in our own world that we forget that, you know, after we retire, you're still young, and you have a whole life to live. You know, I retired in my 30s, and so I still had a lot of life and a lot of living to do. And so I'm so happy that I knew my second life was going to be in business. I didn't think it was going to get to this level. I never thought in my wildest dreams it would get to where I am today. But I knew I wanted to be a businessman, and I was going to do everything in my power to become a successful one.
Well, you did become very successful, and I want to play back to earlier in your career. You had an early partnership with Starbucks, and around 1998, you opened 125 stores for them in low-income neighborhoods.
Right.
It was the first time Starbucks had done something like that. Your stores were more successful than the national average. You don't own those anymore, but can you talk about how important that deal was in your career?
Well, let me go back before that one, because the Magic Johnson Theater set up that one. And I did my homework and research and found out minorities were the #1 group of people going to the movies at that time, but we didn't have no theaters built in our community. And I said, wow, if we're the #1 group of people going to the theater, or to the movies, if I build them, they will come. The demand was already there.
Yeah.
So I met with the Sony execs and told them, look, the growth of your business have to be through urban America. We got an unbelievable spending power. Look at our spending power right now. African Americans, $1 trillion spending power. Latinos, another $1 trillion spending power, and growing. And I'm sitting there saying, wow, that's a lot of disposable income, and that could make my business become successful very quick. And so they said, let's do it. I put up half the money, they put up half the money. And the first thing people said, oh, no way, they're gonna tear it up, they're gonna, graffiti gonna be all on the walls. And what happened was my first theater in Crenshaw in LA was in the top 10 highest grossing theaters in the nation. And what we had to do was tweak the concession stand a little bit, because minorities, we're a little bit different than everybody else. So we grew up on Kool-Aid, so I had to have strawberry, grape, orange, soda. We don't drink just Coke.
Yeah.
So now, the reason I said that, because my per caps was some of the highest in the industry. Wait a minute. So if I keep that Coke just in there, and my customer base don't drink Coke, I'm not successful, right? Then I had a spicier hot dog, some jalapeno peppers. That was the first time in theater history that ever happened, right? And so I was able to understand my customer base and over-deliver to them. And I'm gonna use that word all the time. And you students out there, I want you to write that word down. And that's over-deliver. Because if you're gonna be in business, and especially today's marketplace, you gotta over-deliver to the consumer. Or guess what? They're gonna leave you that fast. I have over-delivered to my customer base for 30 years. That's why I have the #1 brand in urban America. And so if I had just kept Coke in there, not the hot dog change, it would have been a problem. Let me tell you a little quick story about how they looked at me as a basketball player. So we're about to open my first theater on Crenshaw in LA. And I asked the food buyer from Sony, I said, how many hot dogs do we have for the opening? So he's like, man, the same amount we gonna give you is the same amount we have in our suburban theaters. We opened the theater on Friday. We sold out all the hot dogs that normally take a month to sell out in suburban, sold it out in one night. Why? Because minorities, we're not gonna go to dinner and a movie. We're gonna have dinner where?
At the movies.
I can't hear you. At the movies. So that's another reason my per caps was so high. You have to have an understanding of your customer base. And I know what urban consumers want, and I deliver that. So because we were very successful with the Magic Johnson Theaters, I went up to Seattle because I saw this long line outside this coffee place called Starbucks. I'm like, man, what kind of coffee they serving in there? So I said, I gotta get in that line. I gotta see what's going on. So I got in the line and, waiting, and I finally got up there. And I don't drink coffee, I drink tea. So I said, man, let me have your best tea, whatever. Man, I took a sip of that tea, I said, wow, no wonder. I said, man, that's the next successful thing that can happen in urban America. So I cold called Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, and said, look, I want to come up and see you. So I flew up to Seattle, and we had a meeting, and thank God he was a basketball fan and season ticket holder of Seattle Supersonics. And we sat down and talked, and I told him the growth of his business would be through urban America because, Starbucks got a store. Man, they saturate the market, which is great. They dominate the market. And I said, but there's none in urban America, and we got this great spending power, and I knew that it would be successful in urban America. He said, well, we don't do franchisees. I said, I'm not here to become one. I want to be your partner. I put up half the money, you put up half the money. So he said, well, I got to sell it to the board. Let's have a couple more meetings. So long story short, we had about 4 more meetings. And then he finally decided to come down and see how we manage my theaters. And this is really important to a lot of you young people out there. You got to make sure that what you're selling and what you tell people is going to be the truth, right? When they come and see what your business looks like, everything that you told them is sure better look like that. So sure enough, he comes down on a Friday night, and thank God Whitney Houston's first movie was coming out, Waiting to Exhale. So I had about 4,000 or 5,000 African-American women wrapped around the corner trying to get in to see this movie. So Howard we come around the corner, and he's like, wow, man. He was amazed we had this many people waiting to see this movie. Got inside, the concession stand was just, we were making money like crazy because everybody was ordering something. And then finally the movie started. So we sat in, one of my biggest house was 500 seats. And the movie got going about 20 minutes in, and every African-American woman in there thought they knew Whitney Houston personally, so they started talking to the screen. Girl, why you still with him? You should dump him. And so Howard grabs me out the theater, true story, and said, Earvin, I've never had a movie-going experience quite like this. And he said, you got the deal. So we did 3 as a test. And this is where that word comes in, young people. So he gave me 3 to test. So I had to over-deliver with the 3. So when I looked up, I said, okay, we got to tweak Starbucks just a little bit to fit in urban America. The coffee was great, but the dessert was not. We don't quite know what scones are, so I had to take the scones out of my Starbucks and put sweet potato pie, pound cake, sock-it-to-me cake, peach cobbler. They said, no way minorities would pay $3 for a cup of coffee. Well, we proved everybody wrong. My per caps were higher than his per caps. And it went from building 3 to building 125. The multiple was already negotiated. So when my contract was up in terms of the number, 125, I sold them all back to Howard. And I walked away with a big smile on my face. And so, and he did too, because he says already in all the interviews that he's been able to do after our partnership, he said how our stores really changed Starbucks, brought in a lot of minority managers, district managers, employees. And so, and now he's built now 500 to 1,000 stores in urban America, and it's great. So it's great for me to be the guy who opened the door for Starbucks going into urban America. And we should clap for that, because that's a great thing. So it's still about over-delivering. See, if I had kept those scones in there, my per caps wouldn't have been $4.59. It wouldn't have been that high. So because I changed out those desserts, and then I also took out the Lawrence Wells music that they play in the regular Starbucks, and I put in Prince, Motown music, Earth, Wind, and Fire, things that resonate with the urban consumer. So now if I got you sitting there and you made your first purchase and you're comfortable and you got your head moving and you got your favorite drink next to you, you're going to sit there long enough to make your second purchase. See, and then minorities, if we call a place, that's my place, like that's my restaurant, that's my burger place, whatever it is, that's where we're going to go all the time, because they've over-delivered to us. And you're the same way. And so that's why you have to over-deliver. And also stay in touch with that customer base in terms of asking them questions. Do you like this? Do you like that? We always stay in tune and in touch with our customer base to make sure we're doing the right thing. And that's why I've been successful as well.
I hear you talking about diversity of perspective and how important that was for you. There's been a focus recently on the lack of diversity within Silicon Valley and the tech industry in general. How does that play into your investment and partnership decisions? And also, how do you think about recruiting and retaining diverse talent now that you're head of your own organization?
Well, the first one is, when you think about Silicon Valley and you think about it's only 1% of engineers that are African Americans and about 3%, I think, are Latinos. That's way too low. But they keep using that as an excuse where we can't find enough engineers who are minority. Okay, that's fine. But what about you have lawyers, accountants, the HR department? There's other areas that you can hire minorities who are qualified, right? And a lot of them sit on this campus too. and other campuses. So we just don't want to be engineers. We can be, we love to work at Google. We would love to work at Facebook and on and on and on. And so diversity starts at the top. If it's not a part of your DNA, it's not who you are, it's not going to happen. That's why I love Stanford. See, and we don't want a handout. We just want an opportunity. Now look at those two coaches. They just wanted the opportunity, and they're delivering, over-delivering. And that's all. We just ask for an opportunity. And I tell you, those who, look, you want to hire the way America looks. In the next 20 years, half of America, or even more than half of America, is going to be minorities. So the first companies that understand that and start hiring minorities now, they'll understand how to really deal with them as not only employees, but also consumers. And so for me, it's easy for me. I like to hire smart young people. Matter of fact, I got one of your own that work for me. Stand on up. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah. And Ryan, I tell you what's great about Ryan. Ryan was here on the campus a couple years ago, and he was doing some internship work for us, right? And so that's when we were thinking about buying the Sparks. So we put Ryan on the Sparks deal. And it was Ryan's, he analyzed the numbers. He came back to myself and said, he thought at the number that we were going to pay for the Sparks, that it was going to be a good deal. If he had said, don't do the Sparks deal, I wouldn't have done the Sparks deal. So we got young, bright minds like Ryan in our company. And so Stanford, you're producing some great, young, smart, also too, he's single, so any ladies out there. He started clapping. And then once he analyzed that deal and broke it down for me, I knew that I wanted him because you have to have people skills to work for me too. It's not just being smart. I want somebody who can also go out and on behalf of our company represent us. And he does a wonderful job of that. And so my brand is everything to me. And so I got to make sure that the thing that I protect is the brand. See, I have everything else. Sustainability, I have growth, I have all that now, right? But the one thing that could ruin it all is a tainted brand and a diluted brand. And so I want to make sure that I protect that brand. And that's why I hire people like Ryan who can not only protect the brand, but grow the brand and the bottom line all at the same time. And so with buying the Dodgers, that's sustainability. I have a $14 billion insurance company that I just bought called Equitrust out of Iowa. That's our headquarters. We're going to move that to Illinois. It's doing game-buster business. We're growing it. And so when I look at it, I have everything that I want now, right? I was fighting for first respect because they didn't respect me when I first came in the boardrooms because they still looked at me as a basketball player. But that Starbucks deal changed all of that. See, I drove ROI. I took Howard's brand. It was already huge, but I took that brand to another level. It was the first company ever. Jay Leno picked up a Starbucks cup live on TV and said, why are you charging those people that kind of money for a cup of coffee, right? And we all laughed, but Howard Schultz was happy, like, wow. I was just on the Tonight Show and then cost me $1.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we were able to grow the brand of Starbucks for free, and also at the end of the day, also be able to grow the bottom line too. And that's why that partnership was the one partnership that really got me everything that I wanted. And then I've had the #1 real estate, when you think about fund in terms of an urban fund. So we did 300 million, we did 600 million, our second fund, and our third fund, we did $1 billion. And then we had an equity fund with Ron Burkle's company, Ukaipa Johnson. So we went out and raised about 500 million. So that's when I bought a lot of we bought about 20 radio stations, we bought Soul Train brand, on and on and on. With the real estate fund, if you think about the W in Austin, Texas, you think about the Hilton in Washington, D.C., all those things, all those properties we still own. And the Transamerica building downtown Los Angeles, we used to own that. And so those are the type of properties that we invested in. And so it was really unique and special that I could go from the basketball court, dribbling that little basketball, to having a real estate fund, having an equity fund. And now I'm with Guggenheim, and Mark Walter told me, you don't have to go out and raise money no more. We manage about $200 billion. Just come see us. Okay. And I tell you, this is a quick story for some of you, because some of you are going to be disappointed. I got to stand up for a minute. Is that okay? All right. I know I'm at Stanford and everything, so all these smart people, because I might be working for one of them one day. You don't mind me changing a little bit, Dean, do you? Okay, cool, because I can't just sit down all the time. Young people. So when I first went out to raise my first fund, I went up to CalPERS, right down the road from here. And they turned me down 4 times. And the last time the committee turned me down, they said, well, why haven't some other minority come to raise money and do what you're talking about doing? And I couldn't answer that question, right? I was up there to have them give me around $50 million to invest in urban America. That was unheard of at that time. And so finally I went up the time after that, the 5th time, and they finally said, you know what? We're going to give you the $50 million. And if you, I'm going to come back to that word, if you over-deliver with the $50 million, you can come back and get $100 more million. I bought a shopping center for $22 million. It was 40% occupied. I made that center 100% occupied. I resold that center for $48 million. Took the 26 back up to Sacramento and said, here you go. And guess what happened? They started respecting me like a businessman. Now, a lot of you gonna get turned down 5 times like I did. Are you gonna get back up and try again? Or you gonna go have your head down, disappointed, and not get up and try again? See, I knew I had a great business plan. I knew I had a great strategy, and I believed in it. That's why I kept going up to Sacramento. And finally, they said yes. And that's when I took off. So remember, you're going to get turned down. Somebody's not going to like your business plan. That's all right. You can tweak it. You can make adjustments to that. But keep going if you believe in it. And if you've done your homework and your research and you find that you have a good chance to be successful with your business, keep going. Never let anybody define who you can become and who you are. They said, oh, Magic just a point guard. No. I was more than that. And now I'm proving it each and every day. Jack Dorsey just said, hey, Magic, come on, join my board of Square. I've been turning down boards left and right, and I finally believe in him and what he's built. And so I finally said yes. But if I hadn't proven myself, right, he would never come and ask me to join his board of Square. Okay,
Okay,
back to you now.
thank you.
See, that's how we do it at Stanford. We, you know.
Yeah, experiential learning. Yeah,
Something I
everything-
live by too. Young people, write this down. Always be ready to adapt and adjust. I'm serious. Market change, you got to be ready to adapt and adjust. And we did that with my real estate fund. We had built some condos. The market just, remember, banks wasn't loaning, no more money, and everybody was in trouble, right? But quickly we said, oh, wait a minute. We can change to a renter's model just that fast. And guess what happened? It didn't affect our bottom line. We still were successful because we were smart enough to say, okay, it's not going to work because nobody can get loans, but we can go to a renter's model and it can still work for us. So make sure you're quick and nimble enough to say, you know what? I can adapt and adjust to what's going on in the marketplace today. I can change my business or tweak my business to make it still work.
You're talking about resiliency throughout that, and I want to shift to a more personal issue before we turn to questions, and that is your health. And you contracted HIV at the height of your superstardom in basketball, and overnight you became the face of a disease that at the time people thought was a gay white man's disease. Can you talk about the experience of having to become a leader in a community that you might have otherwise never been associated with?
Yeah. Well, first it was tough. It was tough because in the beginning, getting that phone call, come to the doctor's office, we're in Utah, fly all the way home from Utah, couldn't play in the game. I didn't know what was wrong, what was going on. And to walk into the doctor's office and him to tell me I have HIV, it was just devastating. I mean, I'm talking about I was on the floor devastated. And it took me hours just to come to grips with what he had just said, right? And then what was more devastating than that was I had just got married. My wife was pregnant, so now I got to drive home to tell her I have HIV. And more than thinking about myself, I was thinking about her and my baby at that time. And I tell you, I never thought, you know, and I had did everything right, I thought, you know, just, I was married to the game. I put in maximum effort, and I'm now, boom, this happens, right? And I married a woman that I met on Michigan State campus and that I've always wanted to marry, my best friend. And all those things are going through your mind as you're driving home to now face the toughest challenge in my life. More than Michael, more than Larry. You know. Yeah, I'm glad I can laugh about it now, I'll tell you. But it was, when I hit the door, she knew something was wrong. She knew it. And so I sat her down, and I began to tell her I had HIV, and she cried like a baby. And the thing that makes it tough, young people, your mistake not only hurts you, but those who love you, it hurts them too. They are affected by your mistakes. And here she is, been nothing but a great wife, great friend, and I putting her at risk and putting her in this situation. And so, you know, as we're talking about it and I'm trying to console her, and then I told her, I understand if you want to leave me, you know. And then she hit me so hard upside my head. And she said, we're going to beat this together. This is the only time I knew that I was going to have a chance to live. Because if Cookie had left I don't think I would be here because I needed her as a support system, and that was a difficult time. So you need the ones that love you to help you through your toughest moments. And so I'm so happy she stayed and supported me. And then we got the best news about a couple weeks later. She was okay. The baby was okay after the doctors ran the test. So I've been in the face of this disease now for 24 years.
Was she also the person who encouraged you to speak out and help to educate everyone about
Oh, that's
the
a
disease?
great question. Great question. We went back and forth. Once we found out her status, we went back and forth on if we should go public or not. So I met with a lady who was living with AIDS at the time, Elizabeth Glazier. Changed my whole life. She was dying at that time. And she told me, Earvin, I want you to become the face of the disease. They need a face. It needs a face, and you will be perfect. You got to go public. It's going to help the world. And she said there's some great drugs coming down the pipeline, and she was right. At that time, it was only one drug at that time, AZT. And so I'm glad she was there for me as well. And then I promised her that I would become the face and I would do a lot of different things to help those who are living with it and also to educate people. And she has a great foundation named after her and doing great work too. And so Cookie and I, after meeting with her, decided to go public at that time. And now you look at the numbers, there's over a million people living with HIV in this country, but 1 out of 8 don't even know they have it. There's a lot of people walking around right now that don't know they have HIV. And then it's affected the black and brown community in a big way. When you think about the numbers, especially the numbers of blacks, in terms of 55% of men, 45% black women. So it's really important that we still go out and get tested. Also go back for your results. Now you can get it tested in your own home now. Now instead of one drug, there's 30 drugs. That's why I'm living today. You think about the drugs are so much better today, easy to take today. There's still a fear of minorities going to find out if they have HIV or not. That's been really hurting our community in a big way. And so I fight against discrimination against those who are living with HIV. I go out and educate people, and that's what I do. This is my life. And so I love what I do. I love, going out, talking about HIV and AIDS, and also helping people. And that's what I'm all about. And then when I joined President Bush AIDS Commission back at that time, this is the father, I remember I went to Boston and they had a hospice, 30 beds. I walked in, only one bed was, one patient was in one of the bedrooms. And I was like, what's wrong with the other 29 rooms? They had to take you through a process for you to get a room. Like, all these people who need a room and they have to go through a process to get one. It takes like a year or two just to get cleared. And just that day I quit. I said, this is not right. There's people who need rooms who have to be on the street, and we take them through this long process. And so I quit that day and I built the Magic Johnson Foundation, and we've already given out almost about $15 million to different AIDS organizations. We've tested over 40,000 minorities. So this is what I do every day. I love it, And not just the HIV and AIDS side. We have 120 students on scholarship right now, colleges all over the country. We built 16 technology centers. And because a lot of minorities can't afford to have a computer in their home, So we give them access to one. And so these are the things that we do every single day. And then the last thing I just started was Magic Johnson Bridgescape Academies, because right now the problem we have in urban America is so many dropouts right now. So we're building these drop back in centers where kids can get off the street, get their high school diploma. And it's so great that we've graduated 400 students so far. And guess what? A lot of them are in college right now. So we should clap for that.
So we don't.
Okay, so we should go to questions, you know.
We don't have much time left, but if you just want to raise your hand, the people with the mics will come down and find you, and we'll start with a question from Twitter.
Well, we got to take 5 or so, you know. We can't just run off. I came all the way here from LA. That's a long way. And not answer some questions now, you know. And my Dodgers are in the playoff. Don't be booing up here, but Giant fans. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
First question from Twitter. What was the hardest lesson you learned when you transitioned from basketball to business?
I thought it would be easier because I was Magic Johnson, but actually it was harder. 10 banks turned me down. Besides, CalPERS turned me down. I was looking to grow, and I used up just about a lot of my income to get me to a level. But now I wanted to go to another level, and I wanted that growth. And I needed some big money. And so I went to the banks, and 10 of them turned me down. And then I said, well, if 10 turned me down, I'm going to make sure everybody turned me down. So I went to the next bank, and they said yes. And it's really funny. What's your name?
I'm Gracie.
Gracie, it's really funny, right? So now Gracie, after the 11 banks said yes, and owning the Dodgers, all this stuff, all them 11 banks are knocking on my door saying, 10 banks saying, oh, we'll give you as much line of credit as you want, you know, on and on and on. But I'm a loyal guy, so I stay with who got me here. And so again, you're gonna get turned down sometime, but keep on going, because somebody may say yes. And so I was blessed that somebody said yes and believed in me and my strategy and believed in urban America too. So thank you. That was the hardest thing. Who got the next one? Right here. Okay.
Hey, my name's George. I have a question. With the Equilife deal, your Equitrust deal, your organization runs the largest black-owned insurance company in America. How do you see minority-owned financial institutions changing the way American business is done?
Well, I think first of all, we got to be successful. That's number one. You know, always remember that you can only change things when you're successful, and I think more minorities will have access to capital so that they can build their own businesses because I'm successful. And I don't think that we're going to change financial institutions, but it's in terms of minorities owning a financial institution. But I think what I can do is open the door for other minorities to have an opportunity to become business people, right? You see what I'm saying? And so right now we're seeing that everywhere. If you look at the hip hop community, who do they credit for changing their mindset on becoming businessmen? They credit me. And athletes do the same thing because I opened the door and also changed their mindset and attitude toward just being a artist or just being an athlete. Now we know that we can go from the basketball court to the boardroom. So I think Equitrust will allow others to say, hey, there's an opportunity to own a financial institution, hopefully. If not, just, again, just being a pioneer for minorities to be able to know that you can be successful as a businessman or a businesswoman. So I'm sitting in a great spot, in a great position. I don't take it lightly. And just like being a minority in baseball, it's great. You know, we changed the Dodgers. We were, I don't know where we were. We wasn't in the top 10 in attendance before. Now, for the 3 years that we've owned the team, we've been #1 in attendance in MLB, over 42,000 a night. We've enhanced the fan experience. We've changed the team, and we won our division 3 years in a row. So we've changed everything, and now we're the sixth most valuable. Forbes said we're the sixth most valuable sports franchise in the world, behind 3 soccer teams and, of course, the Yankees and Cowboys. And we'll take that all day. And so the things that we've been able to do has been great. So we'll see what happens in terms of financial institution, but I'm just happy that I have a successful business and that we're going to grow that business. We just sold another business that we were into, I was into, which was Simply Health. We built that business over 3 years, Medicaid, Medicare business. My partner and I, Mike Fernandez, we took a business that we bought, only had 17,000 members, now about 300,000 members, and we sold it. We grew it to 300,000 members. And we just sold it to Aetna for about $1 billion. So I've been doing a lot of great things, and this is what I do every day. It's nice to not be in those hot pants I used to wear, and I wear suits now. Remember the shorts we used to wear? Johnny, you remember them shorts, man? They were, I mean, I don't know how we got in them things. I think it was some on this
right
side.
here.
Oh, that
This
young man
person
right there?
with the
Okay,
mic.
go ahead.
My name's Aaron. I grew up in Inglewood down the street from the Forum, so this is special for me. Kara, you're killing it.
She is
Kara's
too.
doing
Let's
awesome.
give her
She's
a
killing
hand
it.
too. She is killing it.
So my question is, can you talk about the conflict or lack thereof between helping a community that you came from, that you grew up with, you know, a socioeconomically disadvantaged community, and also wanting to make money yourself?
Well, there's no conflict. And I'll tell you why there's no conflict. Minorities want me to be successful, right? We were short, when you think about retail options, we were short retail options. Minorities, we were driving an hour, sometimes 45 minutes outside our community just to shop and go to a grocery store, to go to the movies. And so what I was able to do was understand what we wanted, because we were already driving to get it, but it was outside our community. And what I just did, I just brought it right to us, right? And minorities understand if I'm successful, then they have a chance to be successful. And so I didn't do anything to, it'd be different if the prices were, you know, high, or I outpriced myself in terms of to the urban consumer. But I hired people from the community. The first thing I did was train them to do their job. I'm gonna say that one more time. I trained them to do their job. And then you get the retention that you're looking for, right? And also I made it a workplace that they have fun working at. And that again, gets you the retention that you're looking for as well. My Fridays was the hottest place to work at and to go to, right? My TGI Fridays that I used to own, right there. You been there, right? And you know, man, a Laker game came on or Dodger game, you couldn't even get in the place, right? Packed, right? I was the first Fridays in the nation to ever serve Dom Perignon, Cristal, out of high-end liquor. I was the first one, right? They copied my model, right? And so, because that's what my customer base wanted. But the reason I'm saying that is that now in urban America or Inglewood or wherever, you have a chance to now in your own community get a salad, get dinner, go get Starbucks coffee, and you didn't have those options before. So I look at it as I'm putting people to work, and now that dollar, our problem in urban America, the dollar only touches 3 hands. In suburban America, $1 touches about 20 hands. That's why it's able to grow. So I tried to make sure a dollar could touch at least 10 hands in urban America by putting a business there, hiring people from the community. Now they'll spend their money where? In the community. Now the community grows. And so, so I'm happy about what I've been doing. I'm also, I was able to put people that have good paying jobs, right? those district managers, those managers, they make good money. And then a brother like Ryan getting ready to be a millionaire, so it's gonna be cool. I told him on the way here, I said, but man, if that deal worked, you're gonna be a millionaire. He said, okay. That's the first time he ever took the glasses off and like, oh man. He started sweating, Stanford, he started sweating. So, but that's also my job, is to make as many minorities millionaires as I can. And so we're on the right track already. I've already been able to do that with a lot of people so far. One of the people I hired went to UCLA. Don't be booing. She went to UCLA Business School, right? 19 years ago. So she became my receptionist. And I told her, if you stick with me, it was just her and I at that time, right? We're gonna do great things together. I said, don't worry about, this is not the job you wanted out of college. So guess what? Now she's a millionaire. Now she's my COO running my company. Went from the receptionist out front, now she's making the decisions. So that's what can happen. And a lot of you don't get caught up in what job you get coming out. You know you're smart. Sometimes it's good just to get in, get the knowledge, and then grow from there, okay? I gotta have her, because she's short. Come on up on stage. Come on stage, come on. But yeah, bring the phone. All right, no, you gotta hand it to somebody. Don't put it in your pocket.
Here you go.
Yeah, set it up. All right, nice, come on, smile. All right, hold, turn around, back to back. All right.
This is great. Well, I'm Maria. I'm a junior actually here at Stanford.
All right, put the mic up.
And I kind of just wanted to ask you, you talk a lot about how powerful you are in the business community, but given how strong of an influence you are to a lot of minorities and just individuals all over the place, I kind of wanted to ask you what sort of initiative you are kind of like hoping to immerse yourself in with respect to obesity, given that a lot of minorities are, facing this issue. And a lot of basketball players and just athletes in general market a lot of their products, and they're not the healthiest per se. It's a lot of sodas and things like that. And I kind of wanted to ask you, since you have such a big impact and so much power, like you're saying, and you want to empower those people, do you see yourself kind of, engaging in sort of any, business opportunities with respect to like making those like culturally appropriate, I guess, foods or beverages more healthy per se?
Okay, well, two things. First, let's start with myself first. 2 years ago, I was about 40 pounds heavier, right? And I knew that I was snacking on the road. So I said, I gotta make a change. So no, I'm serious, I gotta make a change. So I started putting nuts and fruit in front of me instead of those chips and things, and I dropped about 40 pounds, right? Then I own a company called Sodexo Magic. So we provide food for colleges, school systems, corporations. So we have, I do Disneyland and Disney World. Yay! Mickey and Minnie eat my food. And Toyota, their headquarters, John Deere, Allstate Insurance, Drexel University, on and on and on. So now we're starting to see now even corporations, school systems, colleges, they want healthier options for students, for their employees and so on. I think before I was not mindful of what you said, but since I changed my diet myself, and now I get up every morning at 4 o'clock, I'm in the gym by 5, hour cardio, lift weights for an hour. So now I can talk about it because it's the truth, I'm living it. Before I couldn't talk about it, but I'm living it now. So it's very important that we do eat healthier, because African Americans, we're dying earlier than any other group of people. And so we got to make some changes when you think about our diet And also, too, it has to start at home, too, and then that's when I was talking to the young man about Harlem hadn't had a grocery store for over 40 years. So I put Starbucks there, I put my theater there in Harlem. That's when Pathmark finally built a supermarket in Harlem. Now we got fresh fruit, vegetables. See, that's the problem we were having in urban America. We just didn't have the opportunities to buy things that were fresh and healthy for us. And now we're hoping Whole Foods come into urban communities and others, Trader Joe's, whoever it is, so we can have those type of options, And so, yes, I'm promoting it, and I'm actually going to invest in a company that providing that type of food options. I can't tell you much about it right now. We're not there yet. Ryan, we're not there yet, right? Yeah, Ryan has, can I brag about him? Yeah, just keep your eyes on him, the guy with the glasses. Yeah. He has bought me lately about 3 deals. We just invested in a company called Jobwell that's supplying minority talent to, yes, you say that. Go ahead.
Latino recruitment and just minority recruitment in general.
You heard about it.
I heard about them. I signed up.
Man, tell me some. Love it. No wonder we're friends.
We're friends. I follow you on Twitter, actually.
No, but Ryan has done just a tremendous job. And if we can do me one favor, because when it's your own and they become successful, you always got to feel proud because, see, guess what? You're the next one. And if you don't bless somebody else, how can you be blessed? Right? And that's what I'm all about. I'm blessed to have a great wife. I'm blessed to have great 3 kids, 2 grandchildren now. But also, I'm so happy that I saw the talent in this young man and that you guys really shaped and molded into, he's going to be awesome. So if you can do me a favor, there's 2 people you need to give a standing ovation. This beautiful lady, she's so smart and talented. Come on.
That's right.
She did a wonderful job. Come on, man.
Thank you.
And this one too. Come on.
Oh my God.
So, listen. I came from a very poor family. Sometimes we had the peanut butter, but we didn't have the jelly. Sometimes we had something to drink, and sometimes we didn't. Sometimes, it was tough. 6 sisters, 3 brothers. But the one thing I never had was poor dreams. Even though I grew up poor, I didn't have poor dreams. And one thing I never lacked was confidence in myself. I always believed in me. Always. And the one thing that I could control is my work ethic and my work habits. First one in the gym, last one to leave. I'm the first one at work, last one to leave. It doesn't change. If you want to be successful, you got to get there early. You got to outwork your competition. And then get your husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend to understand and buy into your dream. That's one thing Cookie did. I said, baby, tonight I know it's not a real date, but I got to take you to the theater, to the Magic Johnson Theater. When we get there, you go to your seat. I got to kiss the babies for 2 hours and hug everybody that came in. Then when we leave, we got to go by Starbucks and sit in the parking lot and watch how many people come into the store. That's going to be our date. But guess what? She was sitting right there with me. The hard work paid off. 5 championships, led the Lakers to 9 finals in 12 years. Right? What a run, right? Then here, the business world. Now I was struggling to get money and capital. Now I don't have to worry. If I need to raise $1 billion tomorrow, which we're starting a new fund, I wish I could tell you about it. But we already got $2 billion committed. We haven't even gone out because I got a proven track record.
Magic, I'm going to interrupt
Okay,
there
God bless you.
because
Thanks. Thank you.
track record
No.
was considered.
Thank you.